Here's where it gets insane. Macau, a city smaller than Manhattan, pulls in 7 times the gambling revenue of the entire Las Vegas Strip. 7 times. At its peak, $45 billion versus Vegas's $6 billion. Sit with that number. 1 city, 7 Vegas strips, and the buildings they built to make that happen didn't just break records, they broke the rules of physics, architecture, and financial sanity. 9 casino palaces, nearly $30 billion combined. A fishing village turned into the most profitable real estate on Earth. And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how. But before the tour, subscribe, because what's coming in the next 20 minutes sounds made up. A Ferris wheel suspended between 2 skyscrapers, a hotel with no internal columns, just 3 massive holes punched through 40 stories of steel, a typhoon-proof replica of the Eiffel Tower, rebuilt from the original 19th century blueprints. None of this should be possible. All of it exists. Now hit subscribe, because here's how it happened. For 442 years, Macau was a sleepy Portuguese colony. Fishermen, spice traders, nothing more. Then, 1999 happened. China took it back, and buried in that handover was a loophole that would trigger the biggest casino construction boom in history. Mainland China bans gambling completely. Over 1 billion people, 0 legal way to place a bet. But Macau, under 1 country, 2 systems, kept its casinos. Think about what that means. The only legal casino zone within reach of the largest population of gamblers on the planet. It's like putting the only bar in a dry county right on the highway. For decades, one man, Stanley Ho, held a total monopoly on Macau's gambling. Every chip, every table, every dollar ran through his empire. Then, in 2002, the government blew it open. 6 casino licenses, auctioned to the highest bidders. And that's when the American giants showed up. Las Vegas Sands, MGM, Wynn Resorts, checkbooks open, architects in tow. They'd done the math. Macau sat 1 hour by ferry from Hong Kong, with direct flights from every major Chinese city, and the average high roller here bet 10 times more than their Vegas counterpart. The gold rush was on, and the first one out of the gate was MGM. MGM came in with $1.25 billion and a Portuguese-inspired palace, 3-wave glass facades that caught light like the ocean, designed by Dennis Lau and Ng Chun Man. At the center, the Praça Atrium, a hand-painted ceiling 25 meters high, mimicking the sky over Lisbon. Here's where it gets insane. This was built on reclaimed land, compressed sand and silt, so to anchor a 35-story tower, they drove foundation piles 40 meters down to bedrock. Then triple-glazed curtain walls rated for typhoon, winds up to 250 kilometers per hour. Because in Macau, it's not if a Category 5 storm hits, it's when. 3 years of construction, 600 rooms. When it opened in 2007, it pulled in $2.8 billion a year. Let that sink in. They made their $1.25 billion back in under 2 years. And that's when MGM's executives realized something. In Macau, intimate luxury was profitable. But scale was where empires were built. So MGM came back with $3.4 billion and one question. What if we built something impossible to ignore? They brought in KPF, the firm behind Shanghai's World Financial Center, and got 3 towers wrapped in gold-tinted glass, arranged to form a crown from above. They called it the jewelry box. At night, it glows like a gemstone on the Cotai Strip. But the real madness was inside. A 16-meter rotating stage that could fully reconfigure in 90 seconds. Hydraulic platforms, vanishing walls, tolerances of 0.5 millimeter, borrowed straight from aerospace engineering. Then they put a garden on the roof. Level 20, 150 tons of soil, mature trees, water features, engineered to survive earthquake stress and typhoon loads 20 stories up. 4 years of construction, a $300 million art collection. Dali, Warhol, Zhang Huan. Opened in 2018, $2.2 billion a year. But while MGM was perfecting the jewelry box, the old king of Macau was building his middle finger to every American on the Strip. Stanley Ho had watched foreign moguls invade his territory for 5 years. In 2008, he was done watching. He hired the same firm behind MGM Macau and gave them one instruction: Build me something nobody can miss. What they delivered was a 261-meter golden lotus flower, wrapped in 1 million LED lights, deliberately taller than Hong Kong's Bank of China Tower. A statement, full stop. And here's the part nobody's talking about. Those petals aren't decoration. They're the structural exoskeleton. Each floor cantilevers outward further than the one below it, creating the lotus shape, which meant driving foundations 60 meters down into solid granite bedrock. 6 years of construction, only 430 rooms. Because Ho wasn't playing the volume game, he was playing ultra-luxury. In the lobby, a 218-carat pink diamond worth over $10 million just sitting there. And the chandelier, 1,000 tons of crystal, suspension engineering borrowed from bridge construction. That's the weight of 7 Boeing 737s hanging from a ceiling. The restaurant on top became the world's highest Michelin 3-star restaurant. Annual revenue, $4.1 billion, the highest revenue per room ratio in all of Macau. Stanley Ho spent $2.4 billion to prove the old guard wasn't going anywhere. So, does any of this actually make sense? A 1,000-ton chandelier? A pink diamond just sitting in a lobby? Here's the thing people miss. Every one of these details is a machine. The diamond, the chandelier, the lotus exoskeleton. All of it is built to make a gambler feel like money has no limits. Because that feeling is what keeps the bets coming. The excess isn't the byproduct. The excess is the product. While tradition was making its stand, Hollywood was about to flip casino design on its head. In 2015, Melco Crown asked a dangerous question. What if we stop building just for gamblers? They brought in the Getty's Group out of Las Vegas and built Studio City. Art Deco, 1930s Shanghai cinema glamour. But the real showstopper was the Golden Reel, a Ferris wheel suspended in a figure 8 between 2 towers, 100 meters in the air. Nobody had attempted this before. How do you make a Ferris wheel support itself between 2 separate buildings while accounting for wind shear, thermal expansion, and each tower moving independently in an earthquake? The answer? 3,000 tons of structural steel in a cable stay design. Each gondola weighs 8,000 kilograms loaded, supercomputer modeling on every joint, 5 years of construction, $3.2 billion total. The Ferris wheel alone, $150 million. They added a Warner Brothers partnership, a Batman 4D experience, Magic Mike Live. Revenue, $1.9 billion. Not the highest on this list, but it proved something. Entertainment could be just as profitable as the baccarat tables. The Hollywood experiment worked, but one architect was about to turn an entire hotel into pure sculpture, and she wouldn't live to see it finished. In 2016, the world lost Zaha Hadid. 2 years later, Macau unveiled her final completed work, Morpheus Hotel. And here's the part that breaks your brain. It doesn't look like a building. It looks like someone carved 3 massive voids straight through 40 stories of steel and glass using water and wind. No internal columns, no support beams, just flowing, impossible geometry inspired by Chinese jade carvings. The engineering firm Arup used finite element analysis, breaking the structure into millions of mathematical points to calculate stress on each one. The result, 12,000 tons of structural steel made of 28 uniquely shaped components manufactured across 6 countries, with tolerances so tight that a single piece off by 5 millimeters would mean the entire exoskeleton doesn't fit. 4.5 years of construction, 770 rooms, every single one asymmetric, $1.1 billion for the hotel alone, rated for Category 5 typhoons and earthquakes up to magnitude 7.0. It won the American Architecture Prize and UNESCO's Prix Versailles. Morpheus contributes to City of Dreams' $4.2 billion in annual revenue and became the most photographed casino structure in Macau. But while avant-garde architecture made headlines, American casino royalty was perfecting something else entirely: sensory overload as science. Steve Wynn didn't come to Macau to experiment. He came to deploy a formula perfected over 40 years in Vegas: overwhelm every sense until guests lose track of time. His team built a curved tower wrapped in glass infused with actual 24-karat gold particles. It glows like something out of a fever dream at sunset. And that gold glass also cuts solar heat gain by 60%, saving millions a year in cooling. Then came the performance lake, Wet design, the team behind the Bellagio fountains told to build something better. 200 robotic fountains, fire jets operating meters from water sprays, all synchronized to music in real time. And here's where it gets absurd. $8 million spent researching carpet patterns. $8 million for carpet. The floral displays cost $17 million a year, every year, just to keep rotating fresh flowers through the lobby. 3.5 years of construction, $1.2 billion in costs. Peak annual revenue, $3.7 billion. Steve Wynn didn't build a hotel. He built a machine disguised as a palace. The formula worked, but one developer looked at Wynn's palace and asked, "Why build a hotel when you can build a city?" Galaxy Macau didn't raise the stakes. It obliterated them. $5.9 billion, 50 million square feet, 5 hotels under one roof. The question behind it, what if guests never needed to leave? Inside, the world's largest wave pool, 575,000 liters of water, with pneumatic generators buried beneath the floor producing 1.5-meter waves, bigger than most ocean beaches. Then a 2,200-meter lazy river winding through an artificial beach made from 350,000 tons of filtered sand. Construction ran in 2 phases across 7 years. While guests gambled below, entire towers were going up around them. 120 restaurants. You could eat somewhere new every day for 4 months straight. 1.1 million square meters of total floor area. That's bigger than 120 football fields. The entire Las Vegas Strip would fit inside Galaxy Macau's footprint. Annual revenue, $6.8 billion, the highest grossing resort on the planet. But as massive as Galaxy was, one building was about to make it look small. In 2004, Las Vegas Sands made a bet that seemed insane. Build the single largest casino building on Earth. $2.4 billion, 980,000 square meters, the 7th largest building in the world. Neoclassical Venetian architecture, 1-to-1 recreations of Venice landmarks, but built on reclaimed land. They pumped 30 million cubic meters of fill from the seabed and drove 40,000 concrete piles into the ocean floor before construction even began. 41 months of around-the-clock work. Over 200 artists spent 18 months hand-painting frescoes across acres of ceiling. Inside, 3 indoor canals, each over 300 meters long, with 39 gondolas on permanent docking systems. And yes, the gondoliers actually sing. 3,000 suites, not rooms, suites, minimum 70 square meters each. An arena seating 15,000. And the climate system runs over 50 separate environments simultaneously. Annual gaming revenue alone, $5.4 billion. The Venetian Macau is the undisputed king, so massive that new staff need maps just to find their way around. And if the Venetian was the king, one developer decided the best way to compete was to build a monument to France right next door. Las Vegas Sands looked at the Venetian success and thought, "We conquered Italy. Let's conquer France." $2.7 billion, 4 years of construction. The centerpiece, a half-scale replica of the Eiffel Tower, 162 meters tall, in the middle of a Chinese casino resort. And here's the kicker, they didn't just copy the look. They contacted the descendants of Gustave Eiffel's original engineering firm and used his actual design specifications. Same rivet patterns, same structural geometry, 6,600 tons of steel, assembled to match the Paris original down to the smallest detail. But Paris sits on limestone bedrock. Macau sits on reclaimed sand, so they drove 120 reinforced concrete piles 25 meters deep to create an artificial bedrock platform, strong enough to hold 6,600 tons swaying in typhoon winds. And those winds are the real problem. The original Eiffel Tower was engineered for 120 kilometers per hour winds. Macau gets hit by typhoons pushing 220 kilometers per hour. Every joint had to be recalculated while keeping the design historically identical. The cost per ton of steel, $45,000. Standard structural steel runs about $3,000 a ton. This wasn't standard steel. 3,000 rooms, annual revenue $2.1 billion. The observation deck alone sees over 2 million visitors a year. Think about that. They built an exact replica of one of the most iconic structures on Earth and put it in a Chinese casino. Now, step back. 9 casinos, $28 billion in construction costs. Built in under 15 years, on a strip of reclaimed land smaller than most Vegas parking lots. Typhoon-proof Eiffel Towers, columnless exoskeleton hotels, wave pools generating ocean swells 20 floors up, Ferris wheels rotating between skyscrapers. Combined annual revenue at peak $38 billion, more than Portugal's entire GDP. Most of these properties recouped their multi-billion-dollar construction costs in 3 to 5 years. Galaxy Macau's $6.8 billion in annual revenue exceeds the GDP of over 50 countries. And the engineering innovations didn't stay in Macau. Typhoon-resistant curtain wall systems developed here now protect skyscrapers across Asia, and the structural techniques for building on reclaimed land reshaped coastal construction worldwide. I want to be straight with you for a second. This isn't a story without limits. Macau's gambling revenue collapsed during the pandemic and still hasn't fully recovered to its 2014 peak. Some of these casinos are running at a fraction of the revenue I just quoted you. The reclaimed land foundations, while engineered to extraordinary standards, mean ongoing maintenance costs that never go away. And Macau isn't competing in a vacuum. Singapore's Marina Bay Sands, Las Vegas's newest resorts, and emerging gambling hubs across Southeast Asia are all fighting for the same money. This isn't a story of China winning and everyone else simply not showing up. It's a story of one tiny territory making an extraordinary bet, and that bet is still playing out. There's a line that stuck with me while researching this. New employees at the Venetian Macau need maps just to find their way to work. Think about that for a second. A building so large that getting lost in it is just part of the job. And here's the part that gets me. $4.3 billion in new casino projects are already approved for construction through 2026. The world's biggest architectural bet isn't finished. It's still being placed. So here's my question for you. Out of these 9, which one would you actually want to walk into first? Drop it in the comments. And if this kind of "how did they actually pull this off" engineering breakdown is your thing, subscribe, because we're just getting started.